Hi, this is Brian from ParadiseArcadeShop.com. I wanted to take the opportunity to show you tonight how to assemble a Uila pad into a Seimitsu button. So what we have here is a Uila pad that we supply, a little RGB lighting module, and we have a Seimitsu button already disassembled, sitting here on the messy packing and assembly desk. So you can see all of our other stuff sitting over here, and even the lit joysticks are around. So, but that's not important. What's important tonight are these buttons. So there's been some questions and some issues with the Uila pads and the Seimitsu buttons, and they'll work fine actually. The original version, the hole in the middle here was a little small. So what we've been doing is we've been modifying our current stock to actually fit into a Seimitsu button. But as pointed out by many other people, the tolerances in there are pretty tight. There's not a lot of extra room, so you gotta make it squish. So the first thing that you want to do is disassemble your button like we have here. And before doing these wires or anything, and I apologize, I did the soldering ahead of time, you want to drill 4 holes, so on each of the long sides of the square here on the bottom. And then you can actually run your wires up through those holes. Now, if you're not doing the wiring harness, you can actually solder the wires to the chip and then shove them down through the holes. In this case, we actually have a 4-pin header here, and this is supplied by our shop, and it has an RGB wire set. This is made for either our MAME adapter or to plug into the PAC64 LED controller, or really any device that takes 0.100 pins. This will work great on. So these are 60 cents at the store. You pick one of these up, you cut the 187 tabs off the other end, and then you're ready to go. You've got a nice little harness here to solder. So what you can see is I shoved the wires up ahead of time, and then what I did is I took them and I put the white next to the red, and orientation is important here. You want to lay a chip down kind of in front of you so that you can see how these all get laid out. So you want to do white and red, and then across from the white you want to do blue, and across from the red you want to do the green. The next step after you get these soldered is to put the microchip in, or sorry, microswitch in. So there's a tab on the microswitch, you'll notice, and you want this tab to be perpendicular to the holes that are in the side of the button. So if you put it like this, sorry, with this orientation here, it's not going to work. So it needs to be in this orientation here so that the tab is perpendicular. So you want to come up, look at your Uila, and you're going to mount this in there such that when you push it in, it'll come out so that the tab is perpendicular, as we said. So in between my white and my red here, we can slide it down in and just see if it's lined up properly. So if you look, the white lining up with that hole and that, this is going to end up being perpendicular, so we're perfect. That's how we want it. You want to make sure the wires are on each side of the points. The points will actually stick out to the round edges of the Uila. The Uilas will be tight on the center column. You really do want to push it down on there pretty tightly. You want to leave just enough space. Well, you actually can push it down so that the wires are actually caught between the microswitch and the PCB board. There should be just enough room for that. If there's 2-3 millimeters of space in between the microswitch and the board, that's perfect. Now that we've got that pushed in there and on there, the next step is just to slide it down. Now, a lot of times what will happen is the wires will get kind of caught up inside the button body. So as you slide it, I like to get the microswitch engaged into the bottom there like that, and then make sure you pull up the slack on the wire so that there's nothing hanging out inside. And then you just need to push the microswitch down in. Now, I pushed it a little bit with the black housing on the edge. You really don't want to jam it on the plunger. That'd be like hammering your plunger several times. And if you look, that blue wire was just stuck up in there. Go around and check and make sure the slack's taken up. Once you get down to this point, actually if you push it down and keep going, you don't need to worry so much about it. Then what I'll do is just take something and use that to kind of push it the rest of the way, pushing on the black housing of the microswitch, not the actual plunger. You heard the snap, snap, and we're in. Again, plunger perpendicular to the holes, the wires coming out the bottom. You've got a nice little connector here to plug into whatever you'd like. And what you want to do now is just assemble the rest of your button. So you take your button top, this wonderful orange button top, put it into the pink button because what else could you do? And there you go. So button pushes, nice and free. You've got wires coming out the bottom. Now, issues that you can have with this, if you don't set the Uila pad down far enough on the microswitch, you can actually have this hit the PCB board or the Uila every time. So you want to really make sure that you're only leaving enough space for the wires. It's a pretty tight fit in there. The other things that can go wrong, if you put the microswitch in 90 degrees turned, this won't lock down in. You won't be able to get this on because the plunger will not be aligned properly. So right now you can pull your wires off to one side, tie them up, make them look very neat. You've got the nice color schema here. And then if we were to take this and let's just try throwing some power on it and see what happens. Obviously the colors aren't going to look too good because of the fact that they're coming through an orange button top, but they should look okay. So let's try a little bit of red. Good. Try a little bit of green, blue. Excellent. And a little bit of green. Now, one interesting thing I'll point out here before getting off the video, if you notice here, the red really lights up the housing because it's a pink housing. The blue, which is actually a pretty bright blue, doesn't light up the pink so much, and neither does the green. And the reason for that is that LED lights are very monochromatic, meaning that if you're going to shine a red light through a blue ball, it's just not going to show up very well. So that's it. There you have it. A Seimitsu button with a Uila pad, how to do it. And the only thing I didn't show you was the soldering and how the wires slide through, but that's pretty straightforward. Again, these little harnesses here are available in the store. You can either get them in 4-wire or 2-wire. The 2 wires I think are 50 cents and the 4 wires are 60 cents. And that's under the electrical arcade parts and I believe under the LED section also. If you have any questions, please email me, sales@paradisearcadeshop.com or brian@paradisearcadeshop.com. If we don't get back to you within 24 hours, please email us again. We've had some issues with our spam filters and we are working through that, but a lot of emails come in and a lot of them are getting filtered out at various different stages. So thank you, have a good night.